This story is about Amy Bishop. If you like hearing stories about people who suck, then like and subscribe. Amy Bishop was born on April 24th, 1965. She is married to Jimmy Anderson and is the mother of 4 children. She grew up in Massachusetts, attended Braintree High School, and completed her undergraduate degree at Northeastern University in Boston, where her father, Samuel Bishop, was a professor in the art department. She earned her PhD in genetics from Harvard University. In 1993, Bishop submitted her dissertation for her PhD. An anonymous source at Harvard said that Bishop's work was of poor quality and undeserving of a doctoral degree, calling it local scandal number one. On December 9th, 1986, Bishop, then 21 years old, fatally shot her 18-year-old brother Seth at their home in Braintree, Massachusetts. She fired 2 shots from a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, one into her bedroom wall and one into Seth's chest. Later, she pointed the gun at a moving vehicle on the adjacent road and tried to get into the vehicle. Bishop and her mother told police the shooting had been an accident. Police found a live round in the gun's chamber, meaning that Bishop must have racked its slide after shooting her brother. After a brief inquiry into the incident by the Massachusetts State Police in 1986, reported in 1987, they repeated the Braintree Police Department's initial assessment that the shooting was accidental. Then Norfolk County District Attorney Bill Delahunt, later elected to the U.S. House of Representatives, did not file charges. Detailed records of the shooting had disappeared by 1988. Braintree Police Chief Paul Frazier said on February 13, 2010, "The report's gone, removed from the files." After speaking with officers involved with the case in 1986, Frazier called the accident description inaccurate. He and others said that then Chief John Polio had ordered Bishop released to her mother, Judy, who was allegedly a political supporter of the chief as a member of the Braintree Town Council. They said that Bishop had demanded to meet with Polio personally after the arrest instead of being charged for the shooting. Frazier was not on duty during the incident, but recalled how frustrated the members of the department were over the release of Bishop. Other officers, Frazier said, believed that Polio had fixed a murder, resulting in what he described as a miscarriage of justice, just because it was a friend of his. The now retired Polio denied that there had been a cover-up. Frazier's 2010 account and the 1987 Massachusetts State Police report differ in several key details, including whether Bishop had been arguing with her brother or with her father before the shooting. On February 16, 2010, Braintree officials announced that the files previously missing had been found. Then Norfolk County District Attorney Bill Keating, who was himself elected to the House of Representatives later that year to replace Delahunt, concluded that probable cause existed in 1986 to arrest and charge Bishop for crimes committed after she fled the house. She had taken the shotgun to a nearby auto dealership shop and brandished it at 2 employees in an attempt to get a car. She could have been charged with assault with a dangerous weapon, carrying a dangerous weapon, and unlawful possession of ammunition. The statute of limitations had expired on these charges. On June 16, 2010, Amy Bishop was charged with first-degree murder in her brother's death, nearly 24 years after his shooting. Bishop's parents, who claimed that the Braintree officers lied about the events at the station, issued a statement about the indictment. They wrote, "We cannot explain or even understand what happened in Alabama. However, we know that what happened 23 years ago to our son, Seth, was an accident." The protagonist of the first of Bishop's unpublished novels is a woman who, as a child, attempted to frighten a friend after an argument but accidentally killed the friend's brother. Some people have speculated that Bishop had meant to frighten or shoot her father with a shotgun after an argument and mistook her brother for him. In 1993, Bishop and her husband were suspected of sending 2 letter bombs, which failed to explode, to Paul Rosenberg, a Harvard Medical School professor. Rosenberg was Bishop's supervisor at a children's hospital neurobiology lab and had given a negative evaluation of Bishop, who resigned from her position. Bishop was afterwards said to be on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and her husband reportedly said that he wanted to shoot, stab, or strangle Rosenberg. The investigation was closed, with no charges filed, and remains unsolved. On March 16, 2002, Bishop was involved in a fight with another customer at an IHOP restaurant in Peabody, Massachusetts. The other customer had taken the last available booster seat at the restaurant, leading Bishop to confront her. When the woman refused to give up the seat, Bishop punched her in the head while yelling, "I am Dr. Amy Bishop." Bishop pleaded guilty to assault and received probation. Prosecutors recommended that she attend anger management classes, but her husband said she had never attended them. Bishop joined the faculty of the University of Alabama Huntsville's Department of Biological Sciences as an assistant professor in 2003 and taught 5 courses. Previously, she was an instructor at Harvard Medical School. She and her husband's portable cell incubator came in third in a technology competition, winning $25,000. Prodigy Biosystems, where Anderson is employed, raised $1.25 million to develop the automated cell incubator. UAH President David Williams considered that the incubator would change the way biological and medical research is conducted, but some scientists consulted by the press declared it was unnecessary and too expensive. Bishop, a second cousin of the novelist John Irving, had written 3 unpublished novels. One featured a woman scientist working to defeat a pandemic virus and struggling with suicidal thoughts at the prospect of not earning tenure. The novels reportedly reveal a deep preoccupation with the concept of deliverance from sin. Bishop was a member of the Hamilton Writers Group while living in Ipswich, Massachusetts. She believed that writing would be her ticket out of academia. Members of the club said she would frequently cite her Harvard degree and family ties to Irving to boost her credential as a serious writer. Another member described her as smart but abrasive in her interactions and as feeling entitled to praise. Bishop had a literary agent but had not published any books. Several colleagues had expressed concern over Bishop's behavior. She was described as interrupting meetings with bizarre tangents, left field kind of stuff, strange and crazy. One of these colleagues was a member of Bishop's tenure review committee. After her tenure was denied and she learned that this colleague had called her crazy, Bishop filed a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, alleging sex discrimination, citing the professor's remark as possible evidence. The professor was given the opportunity to back off the claim or to say it was a flippant remark, but he didn't. I said she was crazy multiple times, and I stand by that, the professor said. This woman has a pattern of erratic behavior. She did things that weren't normal. She was out of touch with reality. Bishop was reportedly a poor instructor and unpopular among her students. She dismissed several graduate students from her lab, and others sought transfers out. In 2009, several students said they complained to administrators about Bishop on at least 3 occasions, saying she was ineffective in the classroom and had odd, unsettling ways. A petition signed by dozens of students was sent to the department head. The complaints did not result in any classroom changes. Also, in 2009, Bishop published an article in a Vanity Press medical journal listing her husband and 3 minor children as co-authors. The article was later removed from the journal website. As explained by Williams, the university president, given that Bishop had been denied tenure in March 2009, she could not expect to have her teaching contract renewed after March 2010. She appealed the decision to UAH's administration. Without reviewing the content of the tenure application, it determined that the process was carried out according to policy and denied the appeal. Bishop's husband said the denial of tenure had been an issue in recent months and described the tenure process as a long, basically hard fight. He said that it was his understanding that Bishop exceeded the qualifications for tenure and that she was distressed at the likelihood of losing her position barring a successful appeal. She approached members of the University of Alabama System's Board of Trustees and hired a lawyer who was finding one problem after another with the process. One point of dispute was whether 2 of her papers had been published in time to count toward tenure. Bishop gave more weight to obtaining patents than publishing papers and received several warnings that she needed to have more publications in order to receive tenure. On February 12, 2010, Bishop taught her anatomy and neurosciences class at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH. A student later said Bishop seemed perfectly normal during the lecture. Bishop then attended a biology department faculty meeting on the 3rd floor of the Shelby Center for Science and Technology. According to witnesses, 12 or 13 people attended the meeting, which was described as an ordinary faculty meeting. Bishop's behavior was also described as normal just before the shooting. Bishop sat quietly at the meeting for 30 to 40 minutes before pulling out a Ruger P95 9mm handgun just before 4 p.m. A witness said that she got up suddenly, took out a gun, and started shooting at each one of us. She started with the one closest to her and went down the row shooting her targets in the head. Another survivor said, "This wasn't random shooting around the room. This was execution style." After Bishop had fired several rounds, Deborah Moriarty, a biochemistry professor, said that she pointed the gun at her and pulled the trigger, but only heard a click, as her gun either jammed or ran out of ammunition. She described Bishop as initially appearing angry, then perplexed. Joseph Ng, an associate professor, said Moriarty attempted to stop Bishop by approaching her and asking her to stop, and helped the other survivors push Bishop from the room and block the door. Ng said Moriarty was probably the one that saved our lives. She was the one that initiated the brush. Bishop was arrested a few minutes later outside the building. Shortly after her arrest, Bishop was quoted as saying, "It didn't happen. There's no way." When asked about the deaths of her colleagues, Bishop replied, "There's no way. They're still alive." Police interviewed Bishop's husband, Jimmy Anderson, after it was determined that she had called him to pick her up after the shooting. They did not charge him. The couple were seen leaving their home with duffel bags on Friday afternoon before the shooting. Anderson said Bishop had borrowed the gun used in the shooting and that he had escorted her to an indoor shooting range in the weeks before the incident. Shortly after Bishop's arrest, there was concern that she had booby-trapped the science building with a herpes bomb intended to spread the virus. She had worked with the herpes virus during her postdoctoral studies and had written a novel describing the spread of a virus similar to herpes throughout the world. The police had already searched the premises, finding only the murder weapon. 3 faculty members were killed and 3 others injured. Only a few students were in the building at the time of the shooting, and none were harmed. A memorial service was held at UAH on February 19, 2010, with 3,000 people in attendance. After the Huntsville shooting, Bishop was charged with 1 count of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. The police confiscated her computer, her family's minivan, and a large binder containing documents pertaining to her tenure battle. She secured an unnamed attorney and was held at Madison County Jail without bail. Prosecutors said from the outset that they would seek the death penalty. According to state law, Bishop was eligible for either the death penalty or life in prison. Bishop said she did not remember the shooting and was very cogent, but seemed to recognize that she has a loose grip on reality. On June 18th, 2 days after Bishop was indicted for the murder of her brother in a reopened case, she attempted suicide in Huntsville jail. She survived and was treated at a hospital and then returned to jail. Her husband complained that authorities did not inform him of the incident. In 2010, survivors filed lawsuits against Bishop and Anderson to recover damages. In 2011, Bishop pled not guilty by means of the insanity defense. In 2012, the spouse of one of the murdered researchers wrote a letter to the judge presiding over the case. In this letter, the writer indicated the researcher's family had greatly suffered from their loss, but did not see any benefit from the loss of another life. In response to this letter, Bishop's lawyers offered to change her plea to guilty in exchange for the prosecution not seeking the death penalty. Upon receiving this offer, the chief prosecutor contacted and learned from the 9 survivors that none of them wanted a death sentence for Bishop. On the basis of these opinions, he decided not to seek the death penalty. Bishop then changed her plea to guilty. On September 24, 2012, Bishop was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Norfolk County declined to seek her extradition. Through her Massachusetts lawyer, Bishop said she wanted to be tried for her brother's death in order to vindicate herself. She is serving her sentence at the Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women in Wetumpka, Alabama. As of 2020, her security classification is medium, and her residence is a dormitory instead of a cell block. After pleading guilty in September 2012 and waiving her right to appeal, Bishop filed an appeal on February 11, 2013. The appeal stated that she was not informed of the rights she would be waiving by pleading guilty, that she was not correctly informed of the minimum range of punishment, and that the circuit court failed to explain that she could withdraw her plea. On April 26, 2013, the Court of Criminal Appeals of Alabama rejected the appeal, holding that Bishop failed to challenge the validity of her guilty pleas in the circuit court and did not file either a motion to withdraw her pleas or a motion for a new trial. At the time of this video, she is still in prison. That's the end of the video. If you like the video, then like and subscribe. It only takes 2 seconds and it would really help me out. Feel free to check out the other videos on my channel.